Peter Pan, Chapter 7. When Wendy recovered fully from the arrow, she would spend her evening with the boys in the underground house. Then she would go to sleep in her own little house, with Peter standing guard outside against the pirates and beasts. Peter measured Wendy, John, and Michael for hollow trees. Since no two people were exactly the same size, everyone had to be fitted for a tree in order to be able to go up and down quickly and easily. They all loved their underground home. It consisted of one very large room. Mushrooms grew on the floor, and they were used as stools. A tree kept trying to grow in the center of the room, but every morning the boys sawed the trunk to make it level with the floor. By tea time, the tree was already tall enough to use for a table. After tea, it was sawed away to make more play space. The room also had a fireplace. Wendy stretched a string above it to dry the washing. A huge bed stood along one wall of the room. All the boys, including John, slept in it, since it was so crowded. No one was allowed to turn unless a signal was given, at which time everybody turned at once. Michael slept in a basket so that Wendy could pretend that he was her baby. One section of the room belonged to Tinker Bell, and it was separated from the boys' area by a curtain. Tink had beautiful furniture and clothes and was extremely neat. Wendy tried to teach the boys to read and write. Most of them tried hard to learn, but Peter didn't have the time or patience for such things. He was the only boy in Neverland who couldn't write or spell the simplest word. Wendy would try to help herself and her brothers remember their parents by giving them test questions such as, what color was Mother's hair? How tall was Father? What did Nana look like? Wendy was so busy with her sewing, washing, and cooking that some days she never managed to get above ground. The family ate roasted breadfruit, yams, coconuts, baked pig, mammy apples, tapa rolls, and bananas, and drank large amounts of Papaw. Sometimes the meals were real and some were make-believe. It all depended on Peter's wish, but the make-believe meals were so real to him that you could see him getting fatter as he ate. Adventures like meals were also sometimes real and sometimes make-believe. On some days, Peter went out alone, and when he came back, you couldn't be sure whether he'd had an adventure or not. Sometimes he himself was unable to remember. Wendy was absolutely certain about some of the adventures because she was part of them. Take the times that she found the cake that the pirates had baked to poison the boys. They put it in one clever spot after another, but on each occasion Wendy snatched it from the hands of her children. Finally, it became as hard as rock and no longer tempted the boys. Wendy also witnessed an adventure in which Peter challenged the beast by drawing a circle around himself on the ground with an arrow and daring them to cross it. Wendy and the boys watched breathlessly from the nearby tree, but hours passed, and finally the beast retreated into the forest. The end. Love you guys.